The city's heartbeat in every story, connecting cultures one conversation at a time. More than a podcast, is your home away from home. Albuquerque, located in the heart of New Mexico, is more than just a place on the map. It's a crossroad of cultures, a meeting ground for traditions, and a home to countless stories waiting to be told. Here, every street corner, every gathering, and every conversation is a confluence of voices from around the world. In You Belong in Albuquerque, we aim to bridge the gaps between cultures and communities by sharing personal narratives that highlight the resilience, creativity, and unity that define our city. Whether you are a long-time resident or a curious newcomer, this podcast invites you to explore the rich tapestry of stories that make Albuquerque a truly unique and welcoming home. Welcome to your third episode that You Belong in Albuquerque, Voices That Cross Borders. Today, we are honored to have Bernalillo County Commissioner Adriann Barboa, who has an impressive resume and many stories to share with us today. She recently had been one of the sponsors for a resolution and ordinance at Bernalillo County that helps immigrant families. Let's go and welcome Commissioner Barboa.
Hello, thank you for having me.
No, it is a pleasure to have you. I really was looking forward to have this interview with you because when I saw all the things you had done for the community, it's just decades in the works, and that really makes a difference of the work that you are doing right now with our community. So tell us more about yourself and all the great things that you have done, because if I enter to tell all the things that I researched, it will be an incredible amount of work, and I would like you to say it with your own words. What do you feel proud about of the things that you are doing right now with our communities, and what you expect to be doing in the near future with them?
Thank you, Beatriz. I'm happy to be here today to talk about our bill and our sponsor. I can say I'm honored. I'm Adriann Barboa. I'm honored to get to serve the community I grew up in, that I raised my children in. I'm Bernalillo County Commissioner for District 3, which is all of Southeast Albuquerque and about half of Northeast Albuquerque. So it's a big area. But again, like I said, I live in the home I grew up in and I got to raise my kids in. So I feel this is my beloved community. I know I live in the area of town that is the most rich in racial diversity. I literally grew up hearing Vietnamese, eating soul food because I live near Kirtland Addition, which is a traditional African American district. I went to a school where there was a range of kids from doctors and nurses' kids to families like mine, welders, where my parents were welders and factory workers. So not only racial diversity, but economic diversity. And that's the Albuquerque and beloved Budge that I know and love. And I also come from our families here. We come from a strong tradition in New Mexico of we have only seen the changes that come when borders cross us or one nation wins a war over another. But for us here, for our families, for generations that have migrated north and south forever, since the beginning of time, since the beginning of humans, that this has remained largely a place that is used to that, right? And so when I know the name of this podcast is You Belong Here, that was one of the things I kept saying is we all belong and we will protect and defend each other. So for me, I feel like it was, so I went to Albuquerque High where, we had the largest population of immigrant and refugee families. It just feels natural to me, and it also feels like it's homegrown to protect all our humanity, right? And so I'm proud of that just New Mexico has those values, and I'm honored to get to be in a position where I can continue the New Mexican legacy of supporting all our families, immigrant, documentation status or not.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Barboa. I really appreciate the heart that you put in it, all the efforts and supports that you give to our community. If I go to the list, like you have been a champion for behavioral health in the county, you also have done a lot of work with mentorship for youth, as well as other areas for environmental health. I was like, wow, urban agriculture, something that is one of the also efforts that the city is doing. Hopefully there is some type of working together in that aspect and many more. Like, it's impressive, the amount of effort. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I want to ask you this question because what specific programs or initiatives currently support immigrant families in Bernalillo County? And can you speak about it?
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, one, I want to say that there's everything, and hopefully is very public and available and accessible on our website. And I hope we do a good job of getting the word out about services. But, you know, what I'm also so proud of is that I've learned in this position as a county commissioner, all the stuff county does. Of course, you think of the regular stuff like roads and lighting and infrastructure, waterways, or those things, which are a huge part. But in addition, I really think of the county as sort of the local social safety net. So we help run the county hospital. We're responsible to run a public hospital, right? And that is our partnership through the mill levy with the University of New Mexico Hospital. We're also responsible. We run the MDC, the Metropolitan Detention Center. We run the Youth Services Center, which is the Youth Detention Center. We run healthcare access through our public health programs, and we run some of the most robust behavioral health programs, including the CARES Campus, the Tiny Home Village, the Resource Reentry Center. And then because voters voted for the really for a tax, a 1% of our GRT taxes to go towards behavioral health. That means we are also one of the main sources for grants and funding for all the number of behavioral health providers that are doing the work to try and keep our communities healthy, behavioral health, mental health wise. So yeah, I'm really proud of that work that we get to do as a county. And those services are available, and that was one of the first things I did, was to make sure that all of our services weren't asking about documentation status, weren't trying to deny services to anyone, because we are the last stop. We are the social safety net that catches people regardless of your income, your background, your documentation status. And that's what we need to be, because that means our communities are safer. If we're somehow turning people away or saying that one group isn't deserving of services, that impacts our neighborhoods, that impacts our streets, that impacts our businesses. So we've done a lot to make sure that county, all services from our jails to our behavioral health services, that there's an open door. We're not turning people away for ridiculous reasons. So that I want folks to know, I especially want folks to know, and part of the reason for passing this ordinance is even just to tell our family, look, we have this legacy of being positive. And I know in a time right now when our federal government is really putting a tax, people are uncertain, feeling worried, afraid for their families, that the county is a safe place to access services. I think if that's what people leave knowing, that they don't have to be worried if they have to come pay their we do property taxes, right? We do the courts, we're involved with the courts. So people have to be able to feel safe going to do their regular duties, right? So that's one of the most important things to me, is that people know that the county is not going to be a place that will not be tolerated, that the county is a place that you can access services, resources safely.
That's very good news. And I know that the county also has been like for very long time also being that advocate and collaboration between county and city for this purpose of protecting our immigrant community. So it's very well appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you for the work you do with our city.
Thank you. How does the county collaborate with local nonprofits and advocacy groups to protect the immigrant rights?
This is so important to me, Beatriz, because I think what is so important to know that the Safer Community, both ordinance and resolution, that we worked in partnership. It was really the advocates and community organizations that work directly with our immigrant community population, that they were the ones who came to us and said, look, this is a need, let's work together. And of course, we pulled in our lawyers. But what's important to me about that story is that we know one of us knows everything. Mm-hmm. And we need that community expertise, and we need various expertise to make sure we're not missing anything or blind to something that might be harmful. So I'm really proud of this ordinance because we did partner with el Centro de Igualdad de Derechos, the ACLU, Contigo, Open, and our city had already done the executive order. So, we're really making solid policy and making sure we're not. So it is very important to me that that we can have a relationship with our advocacy groups, because they're really bringing a multitude of expertise to the table so that we're getting it right.
Yes, and I love that part of always having the voices of our community in anything that is policy making, because at the end of the day, that is going to affect implementation.
Yeah.
So, and we are fortunate in the state of New Mexico. I had gone to other states and they don't have those supports in the laws.
Yes.
They don't have that collaboration or partnership. And they say, we would like to be in Albuquerque, or we would like to be in New Mexico, where they have the possibility to work together.
Yes.
That there is a true collaboration in values, that we're going to do this to be able to help our community to be protected the way that is needed to be. So in that way, we can all be successful or thriving in our state. So
yeah.
that is a very powerful situation that you had by having their voices heard. I have another question. What role does the county play in supporting immigrant-owned small businesses and entrepreneurs?
Again, I think the county does a great job of trying to support small businesses with startup grants, mm-hmm. funds like that. And the work that we do, we're always also trying to consider the small businesses and when we make policy, especially around workers' rights. But for any business, what I hope mostly about this ordinance is that we're working and that's been our charge, is saying, let's work with these businesses, because we know our businesses include immigrant-run businesses, mm-hmm. they include businesses from out of state, they include local businesses. So how are we building those long-term relationships so people see these protections of saying we need to have safe places that people can come? They see it as also safe for their business, right? Mm-hmm. None of us want criminals, robbers, mm-hmm. people using drugs coming in or hanging out our business. And we all want to make sure that our businesses are thriving. Mm-hmm. So the partnership to make sure, which can include trainings, accessibility. I know with the Keeping Them Alive campaign, we've held a series of workshops with businesses that say, how can we best protect you, and how can we make sure that people have access to your jobs, even mm-hmm. if they're in recovery, mm-hmm. right? So how do we build those relationships with our businesses to make sure that all of us feel safe and businesses mm-hmm. feel supported, and that our workers feel valued, and that people accessing our businesses feel safe to get to those businesses. So for this ordinance, it's going to look like we're doing trainings, but also that businesses will be able to put up signs between public and private spaces so that people can be aware about where they can access services without having to be interrupted by federal ICE or immigration or deportation officers. So that's part of this ordinance.
That's a wonderful. There is one question that came up and that I remember, that in the part of the messages, that if it's going to be between the part of the businesses and the people who come to the businesses, probably it should be in English and in Spanish or something like that. What support the county has in that sense for these businesses to have the information translated in other languages? Because they saw it as a barrier, and I see it as an opportunity, because they can have even more customers coming if they understand what is being said in the messaging in their businesses.
Yes, I think we have a lot to learn and a lot to implement. New Mexico, under the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo and under all of our Constitution, guarantees that we are a bilingual state, and we should always, at minimum, have everything, including all of our public policy documents, in Spanish. Accessible in Spanish and English. We're a global economy, we're a global place right now. Having access to language is beautiful. And so, yes, we've learned from, and especially within all the work done out of our university hospital with community advocates for language access in healthcare, we've learned some really easy tools, right? Having sheets available that people can point to with various languages. There's hotlines in which people can access a quick, depending on the language, then everybody can use this visual to get to a place. So I hope that we can support our community and our businesses in making that move. Part of the process of having visible sign. But yeah, if we're helping them, and oftentimes I think businesses just need the tools, right? Yeah. If you got in a baking business or you're a mechanic, you want to do the thing you love. You want to be a mechanic, you want to be a baker. But all these other pieces, the county offers a lot of support for sort of what we call that back end of a business, from accounting or even advertising and marketing, but also these kind of tools. How do you make your business accessible language-wise to our rich, diverse culture of languages here in New Mexico?
Thank you so much. How does Bernalillo County coordinate with law enforcement to ensure that public safety efforts do not lead to fear or discrimination among immigrant communities? This perception sometimes, I remember last February and March, I did some webinars, and people keep asking. They were not able to differentiate one uniform from another, and as a result, they were confusing the sheriffs or the APD with ICE, and we keep showing them that the uniforms and their way how they approach are different than the federal agency. But it requires so much education and information out there. What can you tell us about this?
Well, what I'm really, again, I feel like I keep saying how proud I am. I mean, we always have work to do, but I'm really thankful that we have a sheriff. Our sheriff is elected. So one, that's an important thing to remember for all of our community, that we elect our sheriff. And so we have to continue to support, elect, or ask folks to vote in our favor to support all our electeds that are positive to immigration policies, to friendly immigrant spaces. But yeah, thankfully our sheriff has really taken the lead to say that we are not combining resources. Law enforcement for the county is law enforcement in the county, not for deportation or immigrant deportation, right? So we're not mixing resources. He's been clear about that, including working with many of those community organizations to ensure the policies are in place. I keep talking about how, I really do feel part of the way we talked about passing these ordinances in a resolution was that this is not new to New Mexico. This is a legacy that we're proud to stand on the shoulders of those that have led in policy before us. Commissioner Baca's father in 1991 passed legislation that was to protect safer places for immigrant families. But previous to that, and I mentioned the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, right? Like we are, that is our foundation. So we're only continuing that legacy on the shoulders of all those. But that includes our law enforcement here. And I hope, people don't often have the choice to whether they're involved with law enforcement or not. But I hope that I know that our county sheriff law officers are, really behaving in a way that hopefully sets them apart as being there for a purpose of law enforcement at the county level and not at this federal immigration level.
Yeah, I'm talking about that. how do you see this resolution and ordinance in the part of the implementation play out in the near future? How do you see that the community and local organizations are going to be there, like next to you or next to all the commissioners, saying, let's go and make this implementation possible, like getting all those parts and components that require a collaboration that really brings the best results for the implementation to take full effect?
Well, so the part of what in the ordinance, which is like sort of that there's a resolution that really reaffirms our policies that make sure that people are not discriminated because of their immigrant documentation status. That reaffirms that. But the ordinance is the part that's like law binding, has teeth to it, I guess is the best way to explain it. And that the county manager has 90 days to commit to a plan that includes training for our businesses, for our own county. Like I said, the county runs so much services across our whole county, that to make sure that all of our own staff are trained in all of the services that people may be coming to us, that they know how to respond, what signage needs to be in place, and if any new processes or procedures need to be, depending on the services that are offered. And we are working alongside, and some of the organizations that are part of it have done signage at other places. So we're making sure signage that is going to be visible and easy to implement. And again, like I said, we need the partnerships between our community groups and our businesses that we're working with and our county services. To me, it's just not, like you said, a total opportunity to build relationships that are going to last the next 2 decades ahead.
And what about the partnership with the city to try to mirror some of the policies that you just developed through the city, hopefully? That's just a wish list from the organizations and also from my part. But it's like trying to get some type of mirror of the resolution or an ordinance to the city. So in that way, we are working together in collaboration. So the same policies that you are having in the Bernalillo County, a person come and cross the street and pass from the Bernalillo to the city, and then gets the same protections.
The city is completely inside Bernalillo County. So I know it's when we obviously do have jurisdictions because we don't want to step on each other's feet, but policies that are implemented, businesses that the county works with are also within the incorporated area of the city. So all of them, you don't cross the street and lose your rights or lose your access. And I'm really thankful that our mayor, and congratulations to the mayor for winning his reelection, has taken a really strong stance on supporting similar policies. It was really on his executive order that we were, also wrote a lot of these policies to also mirror the executive order and the statement and the stance it's really taking there. So I feel like we're going to continue to work together, city and county, to really implement a safe. We all know, even law enforcement. That's why I want folks to understand that even law enforcement is like, it's not safe for us to be involved in these things. It's not safe for our communities if people are afraid. So that's the bottom line. We don't want scared people and folks worried that they can't drive or go get their license. Like, we want people to feel that they can live their regular everyday lives, go to work, to church, to school, and be safe. And so when we're all working together, that's how our community is most safe.
That's wonderful to hear. There is always an expectation that something like that can happen, and then we can continue the good work.
Yes.
I also have another thing, and it's not related with the ordinance or with the resolution, but something with with the Medicaid and SNAP benefits being taken away. And many of our immigrant and refugee communities, to start with, many of them don't access those services in the general population. But now that even our refugees are not going to have any more those services, what the county is doing or thinking on doing to be able to supplement or help the communities that they really don't have a way to access to those services because of their immigration status. What is possible And also an invitation for you and your team to come to ABQ Fresh Summit next Tuesday in December 16. The mayor's office is organizing this wonderful summit here in the Albuquerque Convention Center.
Okay.
So it's an all-day event. So you are more than invited to come.
About
and
food
listen.
access?
Yes, and they did. There is more information to come, and there is a whole website. We're gonna share the information with you. But what the county is doing for these communities that they don't, then now they're gonna be even more vulnerable to be able to access the systems that are connected with food security.
Yeah, that's what's sort of it's so disheartening. And I, as much as I keep getting, when I get down on these issues, I'm like, we got to keep this just means we have to keep working harder. But yes, the county, I myself, I'll just say a little bit, I was able to use some of my direct district funds, and we held lots of food giveaways in the last month, warm meals. I'm in my district. There are regular, like God's Warehouse does regular food distribution already for what we know is our unsheltered population. So I support that because a lot of that is going on in my district, and so folks being able to access that. For folks, totally understandably, we are, and the county is working on, we do so much different ways through either events to do food giveaways, but also, like I said, we are the social safety net. So there's a lot, like through our community centers, food boxes, food drives. I think we definitely want to be able to support that and definitely partner in ways that I know our state also did the recent work to make sure that people still had access to supplement food when in the removal of SNAP. So I think our leadership across city, state, and county are really trying to make sure we're putting resources to figure that out. Nobody should be hungry. Nobody should be without shelter. We know there's a lot out there, but how do we keep providing the resources, be that safety net our communities deserve?
Well, I think those are the greatest steps to be able to do that part of the supplemental. Food insecurity is so big in the state of New Mexico. It's just.
And I know we were just talking about this the other day, that people really do want to learn how to save ourselves, right? And the county has an urban agriculture program and I didn't even know until recently that the county has a fair in which people still do like prize animals and their best beets that grew or biggest pumpkin. And that agriculture, there's a craving. Even like I said, my district represents the most densely populated, so most urban populated in the whole entire state is my district. And all I hear constantly is people want community gardens. They want to learn more about how to cook, how to grow, how to do their own food. And so I think there's some good innovations that the government should support. Like in Española, Taiwan Women United built a whole, with government participation, built a whole, what they called the food oasis, where they're growing, maintaining a garden that the community can come and get free food anytime. I know at Windrock, where when I first got onto commission, there was a whole development about building fruit trees and food tree, nut trees, fruit trees in the area around Windrock so that there could be food. So there's little ways in which we're starting. And I think as we keep building that, people's own abilities to also grow, cook new and healthy foods, I'm excited about all those opportunities as well.
And what is the message you want to leave the public with about all the work that you just described connected with the general population and as well as the immigrant and refugee communities? Where they can go and visit your website, or where they can find the information of the efforts that you're doing currently with the Bernalillo County?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for having this, because definitely one of the important ways to get out information is through word of mouth, through now we know how we're tapping into social media, radio, television. So thank you for having me on today. Bernalillo County is bernco.gov. Like I said, we have a range of resources or ways to engage or, make sure people know that the road you need's fixed, or people are speeding down this road too much, but also on important social issues like we need access to food or access to healthcare. So if you go to Bernco, BERNCO.gov. And I also want to really point people to the KeepNMAlive.com campaign. It's keeping them alive because these families have really, it's a family-driven resource and website, really combating the fentanyl crisis. And what's on there is a lot of resources, the whole range of it from what you might need, including grandparents raising grandchildren, sharing tips and voices, to including folks who do have various immigration statuses and how they've had to navigate systems to support their loved one that's suffering with addiction. So come to Bernco.gov to get a range of resources that the county does. It's a lot, including events that are free, accessible to the public, and to KeepNMAlive.com if you want to access resources around substance use disorder.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. It has been a pleasure to have you. You have such a beautiful and big heart. And I just remember your grandbabies when they come and see them in the events with your daughter and your family.
Yes.
I know that all the work that you do is because you love your community. I see it in every interaction that over the years. So I appreciate very much. I took the time to come all the way here to GOV-TV studios and all the support. Thank you, guys. And thank you so much, Commissioner, again. And this is the end for today. Till next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. You have been listening to You Belong in Albuquerque, Voices That Cross Borders. Catch your next episode soon. Welcome to the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs at the City of Albuquerque, where we are dedicated to fostering an inclusive, vibrant community for all. Our mission is to support immigrants and refugees as they transition into their new lives, offering essential resources, advocacy, and welcoming environment. By collaborating with local organizations and community leaders, we strive to ensure that everyone has access to opportunities, education, and services necessary for success. Join us in celebrating diversity and empowering individuals to contribute to the cultural and economic vitality of our city. Together, we can make Albuquerque a place where everyone feels at home. For more information about our office, you can go to www.cabq.gov/OIRA.